prohibited true story. The time was 2012. I was in class 4. My parents lived in Dhaka, and I lived in the village with my grandmother. My mothers have 4 sisters. My grandmother and I lived in the house of one of my aunts. My aunts also lived in Dhaka. My mother's aunt has a sister, so she is also my aunt. She lived in the village with her daughter, and her husband lived in Dhaka. My aunt's daughter was 3 years older than me, but our relationship was like friends. No one would say that we were 3 years younger than each other. I was very close to her, going around, playing, talking. In short, we were always together except for school time. It happened that we sat on the same plate and ate food. My grandmother would sometimes see us and say, "You two should get married together in one house. You can't live without each other." We used to laugh a lot. Sometimes we would sit and talk that we would never leave anyone and go anywhere. And the biggest reason we were so similar was that we looked almost the same. Body shape, height, skin color, everything. No one could tell us apart from each other. Since we were both black, he always told me, "You know, Nilu, we will never get married because no one likes black girls." This saying of his is still etched in my mind. I used to laugh and say, "If you don't get married, you and I will be together for the rest of our lives, then we won't need anyone else." Her name was Shantana. We and some other girls in the village used to play in their yard every day. Our games would start after noon, and we would play until evening. This game was our daily routine. Even if we didn't eat for a day, we wouldn't miss a game. One day in the afternoon, my grandmother told me to sleep after eating. For some reason, I fell asleep after eating as my grandmother had said. Every other day, when I told her to sleep, I would close my eyes and run away to play. But that day I didn't go. The strange thing is that no girl in the village went to Shantana's house to play. I could hear some kind of screaming in my sleep. There was something being said about Shantana. I tried to listen carefully with my head up in my sleep. Then one of my uncles came running towards me. I got up and asked him what was going on. "What happened, uncle?" What uncle told me made me sleepless. I couldn't stand on the ground. My whole body was shaking. I lost my words. I somehow opened the door and ran to Shantana's house. All the people of the village were present in the yard. My legs stopped. I couldn't move forward. My sister Shantana's dead body was lying on the bed in front of me. She had committed suicide by hanging herself. I was thinking about only one thing. Why didn't I come to play today? Why did I fall asleep? I lost consciousness right there. I couldn't accept her death. When I regained consciousness, it was night. Her father was coming from Dhaka. Her mother had gone completely crazy because they had only one daughter and no children. I sat next to her all night. No one could lift me up from there. The next morning his funeral was to be held, but Huzor refused and said he would not hold it. The police came. Why did he commit suicide? They would take the body for post-mortem. The police were stopped with many requests and money. Then he was buried. Huzor did not go to hold the funeral. However, he and I were Huzor's most beloved students. I was always depressed. I would not go to school and would cry. After a few days like this, my mother came to the village. Then something strange started happening there. Shantana was supposed to get married to one of her cousins. So one day, I dreamed that Shantana was wearing a wedding sari and saying to him, "Why don't you like me? I will marry you, look, I have come and marry me." I liked her a lot, so he told everyone about this dream. He was thinking a lot, so he had a dream like this for a few days in a row. Then one day, for some reason, that brother went to sleep in the room where Shantana had hung herself at night without telling anyone. Then at night, everyone ran to the brother's screams and saw that his face was bent to one side. His eyes were wide, and he was looking at one side of the fence. Everyone realized that something had happened. Then everyone took him home together. A few days later, the brother died and his body was found in that room. There were fingerprints on his neck. After this incident, the brother's father insisted on going to that room to stay the night, to find out what really happened. Everyone tried to stop him, but he didn't listen. He was very angry. Everyone was very afraid of him, and he liked Shantana very much, so he wanted to marry her to his son. And Shantana also respected him a lot. Then at night, he went to stay in that room. Everyone was worried about what would happen or not, but in the morning he returned safely. Everyone was free from worries. But there was a change in him. He was not angry like before. He did not talk much. He did not scold anyone. He was always afraid and became very calm and polite. Seeing this, everyone was surprised to see what had happened to the man. Again, everyone was happy and felt that the man had become better. But no one could see this good appearance for long. After a few days, he also died and his body was lying in that room. After all this, Huzor closed the house with some suras and said that no one can stay in this house before 41 days. After that, no one went to that house anymore. Everyone avoided that house. I was always sad and scared, so my mother took me to Dhaka so that the effect of all these things would go away from me. After that, nothing happened in the village. I was also spending my days quite well in Dhaka. Later it was learned that Shantana committed suicide out of pride with her mother. Her mother scolded her a lot about some matter, but she did not do that, and so she committed suicide out of great pride. Then in 3 years, I never went to Nonu's house again. I had forgotten everything. Then my aunts and I went to the village together. I did not know that something like this would happen to me in the village. After going to the village, as soon as I passed by their house, I remembered everything before and my eyes got wet. I stood for a long time looking at the yard where we used to play and at that house. Still no one was home. His father and mother had gone to Dhaka after that incident. The whole day went well, but when it got dark, I felt scared for some reason. I had a strange feeling in my heart, as if someone very dear was watching me from afar. I didn't tell anyone about this. After eating at night, my aunt and 2 sisters, they are my elder, and I slept in one room. Most of the time in the village house everyone sleeps with the window open. So we also slept with the window open. It was late at night and everyone was asleep. Suddenly I heard someone whispering from the window. I looked over and saw someone standing in the dark. I couldn't make out who it was. I asked who it was. He started saying, "What the hell, Nilu, have you forgotten me so soon? You didn't say that we would always be together, that no one would ever leave anyone. So how come you are so far away now? I am afraid of being alone. Come to me, we will be together, come." Hearing this, I realized that it was Shantana. I will never forget her voice. I could not say anything out of fear. My whole body became heavy, and I did not have the strength to move a finger. I could not even call my sisters. My breath was completely stopped. Shantana looked at me and said with a smile, come to me, I am very scared alone." I sat up in a hurry and screamed very loudly. I could not look at the window anymore because of fear. Everyone in the house ran to me and asked what happened. My sisters got up and caught me and asked what happened. I hugged them and cried and said, "First close the window, I am scared." Then when I told everyone, my aunt said that I had a dream and the reason for my body being heavy was because of the dumb saddle. But it was not a dream, I really saw these things. Everything was happening in front of me. Dreams cannot be so real. That night I did not sleep again and I kept everyone awake. From then on I would close the window and sleep, but I started having strange dreams every day. Whenever I closed my eyes, I would only see dead bodies and graves. I would run to a house, and Shantana would be waiting for me in that house. As soon as I went, she would start calling me, "Come to me, I am afraid of being alone. You didn't say we would be together. Then why aren't you coming now?" I would turn around and leave again and say, "You are dead. I am alive. Then how can I come to you? You go. Leave me alone. I won't go with you. Why did you die? If you were alive, we would be together. You go." I would wake up from sleep saying these things. I was very scared. How can a person have the same dream every day? I couldn't stay there anymore. I told my mother that I would go to Dhaka. Then my mother said that I would stay for one more day and leave tomorrow. I was not willing to stay even for a moment. Then I decided to leave at night in my couple. But it is not always possible to get rid of everything. Another attempt was made on me for the last time. Just before evening, I walked to the courtyard of Shantana's house for some reason. The evening call to prayer had not been given. Seeing me go, one of my friends came calling me, but I was not listening to her call. It was forbidden to go to that house, and I walked to the door. When I opened the door and stepped inside, my mother came and pulled me. And at that time I regained consciousness. I looked and saw that I was standing in front of that house. I cried out of fear, and then I could hear the Maghrib call to prayer. Then at that time, my mother took me to Huzur and brought another amulet that had been poured from Huzur and gave it to me. Huzur said something to Amu, but I don't know what happened. He didn't tell me. After that Amu took me out of the village, and since then I haven't gone to my grandmother's house. After coming to Dhaka, nothing happened to me. I never dreamed of anything, but now when I remember all that, I feel scared and tingle. Even writing this whole thing makes me tingle. I still don't go to my grandmother's house, and I don't want to go there in the future. Something like this might happen again if I go there. This is a completely true incident that happened to me. I never told anyone about it. I shared it today.